Hi everyone, my name is Ifunaya and you're welcome back to my channel. I'm your BFF. Now, if you're a fresh graduate, you're new in the job market, you're targeting jobs, and you're getting booked for interviews, this video is for you. Also, if you know someone who fits the profile, kindly send this video to them and you'll be helping someone, get that dream job today. Personally, I believe that interviews are an art form. There is a way to answer interview questions, and there's a way to prepare, for interviews so that you have the best results. So in this video, I'll be sharing practical tips that every fresh graduate needs to get that graduate job, and these are tips that I wish that someone shared with me when I just freshly left the university. It would have actually shortened the journey for me. So, without much ado, let's get into it. Now, the first thing that I would say to every fresh graduate is to build your application toolbox. And this is going to span beyond job interviews to maybe other opportunities that you're looking out for, say scholarships, conferences and the likes. So, what makes up your application toolbox? You want to highlight the things that you've done in the past, the times that you've had maybe leadership responsibilities. Were you part of any club in school? Did you lead maybe your project group? You're trying to highlight attributes that show that you can problem solve, attributes that show that you can take a project and handle it. So you're looking for skills like project management, you're looking for skills like teamwork, collaboration, and so you're going to write down your achievements, you're going to write down, your vision to make impact. You're going to write down how you've managed a group of people, your technical skills, your analytical skills, some of the transferable skills that you've gained in all those things that you've dabbled in. And these are skills that you also gained in school. So you have to just, look deeper. It might be maybe lab work, and you had to get some of your guys together, and then you people brainstormed and came up with something. All of those presentation skills that you honed with you know if you're in Nigeria, maybe through your CWS and all of that. So they're very relevant. You need to write them down. It's good to be able to visualize them, and so that you can see what you're working with. So that's typically the first stage that I would advise every fresh graduate to go through. So do that. And the beautiful thing is that it improves over time, right? So you write it down, you keep honing it, and all, right? You're looking for the skill set required for the job. Every job description would have had, this person is expected to be able to do these, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes they will list technical skills. Maybe they want you to be able to use, the Microsoft soft suite, or, some analytical tools and all of that. And they can also list transferable skills that they would like you to have, maybe people management and all of that. And so you list them out, and then you list out. So I'm looking through in my head, I'm looking through a typical job description on LinkedIn, where beneath you would have the organization, some about info about the organization. So you also want to look at what's the organization telling, because every organization, especially in this age and time, wants everyone to know their brand story and what they're about. So you have to know what they're about. In the first stage, you've listed out those skills and all of those things that you've gathered along your journey. Now what you're going to do is you're going to match them to what the job requires, right? So when you've done that match, perhaps the job says team building, blah blah blah. Perhaps the job says has to be analytical, and all of that. So what you now do, once you have matched them, you now start to develop a story around all of that using the STAR method. It's important to have stories at your fingertips when you're going into an interview, because chances are that you would always get questions like, tell me about a time when you did this, and all of that. Or when you after you've built your CV, they can say, oh, we see that you listed skills in let's say, sorry, the example that's coming to my head is obviously in the field that I work. So you can you listed skills in, let's say, demand planning. Can you tell me, the size of the portfolio that you've planned for? And maybe they tell you, okay, what are the metrics that you target in that place and all of that. So what would now help you is the storyboard that you built. So you can now come in and say, oh, there was a time where, or you can say, recently I led a team of so and so to, maybe the local government. We came up with a plan, to clean up the street, blah 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 blah. Maybe the company is very interested in sustainability, climate change, and all of that. You can give them that kind of example to highlight that you have the same values that they value in the organization. Especially, when it's graduate roles, mostly they're looking for culture match, value match, and then people that are able to learn on the job. So once you're able to demonstrate that through the stories that you build, then the likelihood that you get the job is very high. So one of the things that I would advise you to do, especially to watch your storyboarding, is to thoroughly research the organization and the interviewer. So when you're researching, and I'll advise you to use LinkedIn, when you're researching the organization, what I want you to do is to go to the people section on the organizations tab, find out the people that work in the organization, and particularly in the role or worked in the role that you're gunning for. What you want to do is look through the job profile. What are the skills that they highlighted in that period? Perchance they've made posts during that period, so you want to see what those people highlighted and all, and build that into some of the requirements for the role. Also, you can be able to, I'd advise you to reach out to those people, ask them about what to expect in the interview process, what the interview process is typically like. People are usually upfront about doing that, especially for graduate roles. So you can, always reach out to someone. Another thing is to check out the interviewer. Chances are that for some jobs, you might be, maybe in the email that you receive, you would see the name of your interviewer. I would also take that name and put it on LinkedIn, search the person, look at their thought leadership thread. What are the things they're typically posting about? Even if it's a recruiter, chances are that they're always saying the kind of things that they expect to hear from candidates during interviews. And you want to build all of these things into your storyboard, so that all of the stories that you have built towards your interview will be relevant for the answers. I already know that this would be all of these tips are typically for towards the last stages of graduate interviews, because typically graduate interviews are more technical. You would have assessment centers, but these interviews where you get to meet like the hiring team and maybe the leadership team are usually decided. The others are more like preliminary stages where they shed off a lot of candidates, and then you're now brought into the room. So you have to definitely make your mark by the time you get into the room. The last thing that I would say is to already build your personal pitch before you get into the room. Now, you might say that you have things handy and you're able to tell people about yourself, but that question, tell me about yourself, is very important. That's where you can highlight your interests down the line and how they marry with the organization's interest as well. You can highlight your skills, and in your first sentence you've already gotten the attention of the interview panel. So please don't let it be vague. Don't just tell them my name is this and I graduated from this university. No, you're losing $1 million chance there. So at that place, you want to obviously introduce yourself. You can highlight your education. You can then highlight the skills you've gained, and how they align to the organizations. You can tell them about your visions 5 days down the line, as long as it's relevant to that role, right? You can tell them about the things that you do off work, how it's relevant to the social economy and all of that. What they immediately want to see is that this person has leadership potential, and this person is what our investment, the chance is a trainee program and all of that. And it would typically look something like this, right? And so once you have done all of this, your chances for getting that offer letter are 1,000 over 1,000. All right, so thank you so much for watching this video. I expect you to engage, and I would appreciate it. So please like, share, comment, send this video to someone who it's going to be relevant to, and it just might be helping them get that dream job. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.